All right, other general rules. 501, to employees report, etc. Employees whose duties are prescribed with the rules report to and comply with the instructions of the superintendent, such as others may properly proper jurisdiction that comply with the instructions issued by the officer of the various branches of the service that comply with the duties. Trained dispatchers must comply with the special instructions, including rules, instruction for the trained dispatchers, including the booklet form. Operators comply with the special instructions, including the rules, instruction operators issued in booklet form. A station where yards is employed trains and agents will be under the control of the yard master agent. In his absence, the yards master, all employees in the train engine yard is service will be subject to the direction. 5. Station agents will comply with the instruction issued by the division officer of the branch of the service. They must be familiar with the responsible observance of rules, instruction governing stations, agencies, and employees, including the car service rules, instruction governing transportation, explosives, other dangerous articles, instruction governing the handling of U.S. mail. The A of the AAR rules, instruction governing the loading of the inspection and interchange of the cars, the train, engine man must comply with the rules, instruction issued with the proper authority, copying the maintenance operation of the airbrake, air, steam, air signal, steam, heat, air conditioner, equipment, water cooling system, train handling instruction governing the operation of the diesel engine. They must record the examination thereof, the attending the instruction classes where applicable. 7. The employee where the duties must prevail themselves with the observe the federal laws relating to hours of safety applying to livestock must be held in the car safety, transportation, exposure of other dangerous articles, other federal laws pertaining to duties, and make sure proper thorough reports thereafter. 8. When on duty, brakeman and reporters are subordinate to the conductor's fireman or subordinate to the engineers, and switchman subordinate to the engine foreman. 502. The supplies, etc. The conductors must see that their trains are provided with the proper sufficient supplies of all kinds, which will allow them any of the material in the cabooses, equipment boxes as necessary. 503. Delaying the train engine men are prohibited for delaying the train, leaving them for meals for any other purposes without permission. Registering address. When required, employees in the train engine service must register the engine for the runs with the information prescribed with provided with the purpose of the engine subject to the calls. Must not leave the unusual stopping place whenever the giving notice where they can be found. Must not leave the vicinity without permission for the proper officer. 505. Who entitled to ride the train, engines, etc. No person will be allowed to ride the trains without proper transportation without collection of the proper fare, except for the personnel employed with the trains, and such officers may be expected unless properly authorized. Unless freight trains are regularly designated to carry passengers, no person permitted with the ride thereon except the proper authority. No person except for the employees of discharge if their duties will be permitted to ride on the engine or in the baggage mail with express without the written order for the proper authority. Engineers will not allow any person to ride on the engine except for the designated officers and employees in discharge for their duties without written order for the proper authority. Alright, special rules for passenger service. 506. Passenger service duty. The train crews will supervise the stowing of the baggage and see that it is accomplished in such a manner to minimize hazardous accidents of passenger conductors must not permit disorderly person of the train must not permit damage to the property misconduct on the train. Person who are unable to carry themselves must not be permitted to get on the train unless accompanied by an attendant. 3. The conductors must use the discretion necessary to eject the passenger from the train. Whether eject a passenger from the train, they will be governed by local rules, state laws, and properties. In addition, with the name of the addressed person, ejected must obtain together with a statement of the witness, writing the possible the passenger ejected from the train. It must be in the station with shelter, food, air, and available the name and the address of the witnesses. 4. Side strap. The doors, vestibules must be kept closed while the train is in motion, except for the attendant or the member of the crew, whether it's used in the station to open only with the side where the passenger receives the discharge. At the end of the gate, that must be placed in the rear of the last car in the train, which car, when such cars are vestibuled, when not vestibuled, a chain or crossbar may be used. When cuts are to be made with the occupied passenger cars while switching, train must know the end of the gates and change proper position, end of each of the car with which this must be made. The doors of all the passenger trains must be kept unlocked and wait until the train is in motion. 5. The proper announcement necessary for the information counts of the passenger must be made in the train man approaching the station junctions at the terminal junctions where the departure of the train. Conductor must see that the employees sleeping in the parlor cars are advised of the passenger therein when they are leaving the train. If the duties and passenger conductors pass through the train, collection of tickets and fares, in addition with the especially stop that is far apart, they frequently pass through the trains and look after the comfort of the passengers. See that the train at the performing their duties to stop receiving the discharge passengers. They may be station platform. They may require coaches to be kept clean with addition of ice water and kept in the proper temperature. Some passenger train employees must wear the prescribed uniform on duty to maintain the proper standard for the condition and appearance of the while making. Passing through the dining parlor cars must remove their caps except for the conductors may wear the caps handling the transportation. All right, special rules for freight service. 507 duties with freight conductors. Freight conductors are responsible for the security of all the freight cars of the train carried by the trains, and they're charged with delivery with the necessary waybills, manifest destination terminals that must be kept required and sealed, and other records. Freight conductors must comply with the instructions of the agents placing the car and doing the other in the station. Conductors must give the proper attention to the handling with livestock, perishable freight, and intended to comply with the special instructions governing. Unless otherwise instructed, conductors must take up the freight and the carload, and not take freight either in carload or less than carload lots for the station where there is an agent without regular way bills or card bills, nor if there is an opinion that the cars are safely loaded. In such a case, report must be properly with the train dispatcher. Where the repairs are made, the foreign cars of repair report on a prescribed form must be made. Alright, special rules for engine servicemen. 508, duties of the engine man. The duty of the engineer to handle the engine at all times by the fireman, so the due the short period with the permission of the presence of the engineer will be responsible for the proper handling of the engine. This rule does not confirm with the authority's exchange duty prohibited with the rule Q. Firemen must not handle the engine in the absence of the engineer unless otherwise proper officer or in some emergency is requested to do so by the conductor. Before accepting the steam engine for the service, the engineer must gauge the cocks, blow out the water glasses, the water column, and know that all the water level devices function properly, that the proper water level is maintained in the bowl. The water glasses and the water column, blow out cocks, gauge clocks must also be tested with the frequently intervals. The proper water level in the boiler is maintained at all times. Engine man must know that the engine is furnished with sufficient fuel, water, tools, and sand and other supplies. Equipment blowing locomotive boilers must not be done with the location where the may cause damage to the property engineer of the or to persons. Engine men must not drop sand nor clean ash pans. The front end of the switches of the frog and interlocking side ash pans must be closed, and grates must not be shaken while the passing over the bridges and trestles. Ash pans front ends must be cleaned of only at the cylinder pins designated location, never on a ballast track, except in the emergency when a train has more than one engine. The requirements of the rules apply to make the engine man of each of the engine, except as the otherwise provided. Engines must not be left standing on each of the position as the block moves on the connection and junction track. Engines coupled to occupied passenger trains must not be left without a qualified employee in charge. 121, independent brake applied. There must be enough water in the boiler to prevent. When a steam engine or left unattended, reverse lever must be placed on the center throttle cylinder to close the block. Independent brake applied, but there must be enough water in the boiler to prevent damage. Alright, when steam engines with the air pumps shut off, they are left unattended. The wheels must be blocked. With diesel engines are left unattended, but the motor running. The throttle must be in idle position. Transition lever over in the off position. All switches except for the fuel pump. The control of the off position reserve handle removed. Independent brake applied. When the diesel engine with the motors are shut off, left unattended, the handbrakes must be set if necessary. Wheels blocked. 9. Engineers must not move the engines from fuel stations until they are certain employees are operating with delivery apron. The cranes have been completed with the operation. Water spouts and water, oil cranes, coal chutes, hoses, and pipelines must not be moved from the tender while the engine is in motion. They must be empty before they are moved. After being used, they must be replaced and secured in the proper position. Where the diesel engine is being serviced, they must not be removed until the hose and connections are removed. 10. When trains are detoured over another road, the engineer and employee of the railroad train may detour with the operating with the engine otherwise instructed by the officer of the railroad over the detour. Detour movement is being made. The pilot keeping informed of the opposing train speed restrictions, signals, sightings, water station, other physical characteristics, other road necessary safety operations. Special rules in station service. 509. Duties of agents and agents will 1. Exercise general supervision over all the employees at their station. Maintain the supervision over the station's building and grounds. Keep the premises clean and condition. See that there is no issue with the company property and premises. See that all the train bulletin, borders, and bearer, current date, and the necessary train information. Remote promptly any action of the state, county, township, municipal authority or operation individual coming to their notice which will in any way affect the railroad. 7. Place skids and trucks and scales when not in use in baggage rooms, warehouses, but when necessary to leave the platform whether them end of the rear of the station building when practicable. Alright, special safety rules in train engine yard service. The safety rules employees must provide themselves with a copy of the conversant with the comply with the safety rules issued with a separate book or the other form. Employees must not step on an or light the leading of the footboard or moving the engine tender from the position of between the rails. Going between the moving of the cars and engines to uncouple, open and close the adjusting knuckles, couplers, or to make adjustment, or to operate the appliance if the levers and operative it is necessary to adjust knuckles by other means of proper adjustment. It must be held in fully protection afforded before doing so. Step in front of the moving car of the car engine, adjusting knuckles. Go between the cars proposed without protection between the cars are not coming in either end of the track. Use the feet of the chains, alignment with the drawbars. Remove any of the appliances of the engine car of the car. Convenience in switching, which would endanger the safety of themselves or others. Following the dangerous practices, ride upon the cutler end sills and end sill handholds and pilot beams of the locomotive permit more than one of the more men to ride each side of the footboard forward end of each of the direction engine moving employee should stand as near water end of the footboard as proper footing will permit ride on the engine footboard between the engine and cars that are being pushed except when necessary to make cut between the engine and the first car. Ride on the leading footboard while coupling engines of the car. Ride on the engine pilots. Ride on the buffer plates, drawbar, brake beams, brake wheels, end ladders, and end of the car contained with a load that may be shifted. Stand near the end of the freight cars except when operating the handbrakes in the back of the hose. Still sit on the footboard pilot end of the engine when the engine is standing still. Alright, instruction on the governing handling of the personal injuries or accidents. 600. In the case of the injury of the person, loss of life, damage, or property, the conductors must furnish all the full and exact statements with all the facts with the names and addresses of all the person who witnessed and have information concerning the accident written statements to obtain whenever possible the case of the death, the trains of the accident, otherwise the killing of any of the person on the track of their trains must see the properties of the reserve of the body to receive the appropriate care and removed as soon as possible the proper place left in charge of the public officer and agent responsible employee of the railroad. The laws do not require the body of the remaining upon the track until it may be reviewed by the coroner or may be removed till a suitable place where it can be cared for the proper manner until it can be taken into charge by the authorities. Alright, 601. Whenever the employees are injured, everything else must be done with care for them properly. If they are able to be removed, they should be taken to the nearest company surgeon for the treatment. If they cannot be removed, their nearest company surgeon should be called. If the case is urgent, the company surgeon cannot be immediately procured. The conductor, agent, or officer in charge are authorized to call the nearest surgeon available to administer the first aid care of the patient until the company surgeon can take charge of this case. And if other than a company surgeon is called, he is to be advised that he is called for the first attention only. Or 602. In case of serious accidents, the train and conductors, after making everything safe, must give their individual attention to the care of the comfort of the passenger, especially those injured. Bed lining may be taken for the pool managed for the purpose of keeping them care of account with all materials so taken that when necessary, injured person may be put into sleepers. Alright, when a number of the persons, either the passenger or employees, are injured with the required immediate intention summons at once for the nearest company, a competent surgeon notified at the same time of the nearest company surgeon make the proper wire of the report with the superintendent, the claim agent, give it the full particulars as the name of the whereabouts for the injured person, name of the surgeon, intendance, whether the further attention is required for the relief of the injured. 603. When the tramps and the boys or other trespassers climbing on the jumping of the moving of the trains, person walking or lying on the track are injured and killed, they should be sent to their homes or placed in charge of the local county, city, or village authorities and not expense incurred to the part of the company. Such cases must not be sent to the company hospitals or other hospitals at the expense of the company. The cases of this nature must not be carried to the adjoining counties, but the local county, city, village, or authorities must be notified to take charge of them. When a person is injured upon the public highway or street crossing the intersection of the company tracks, superintendent with the claim agent must be notified promptly by wire, giving the full particular nearest company surgeon who will render the first attention summon. In case of the injury resulting in the death, remains must not be removed from the county in which the accident occurred until the release from the coroner must be notified at once. Wire will report made to the superintendent claim agent. Directions will be given the superintendent as to the disposition of the remains. Stretchers for use of the transportating sick, injured, and employees are supplied as part of the regular equipment upon all baggage cars. Certain stations are as supplied with the stretchers. After the stretcher must be returned to the baggage car and stations for which it is taken. 604. Wire report of all accidents in the train's proper form must be immediately given of all the information called for on the form. Report on prescribed giving the correct names of the injured and uninjured, the address and destination of all the persons on the train injured with the accident of the injuries must be sent with the wire proper officers the first open 4 offices. Promptly after the accident, the trains involving the passenger conductors must securely all secure from all passengers their signatures on a proper form, delivering and sending them the claim agent, advising them the superintendent. Every effort must be made with the procure the names and address of all the personnel outsiders as well as the employees and who the witness in accidents resulting on either injury, damage, or death, or damage of the property. 606. And in every case of personal injury in any branch of the service, the full, complete report must be made at once in the prescribed form of every employee present, no matter whether he considers his statement of importance or not, answering every question as fully as possible. 607. When a person is injured by accident which may have been caused of the defective car's engine, appliance, tools, machinery, such equipment must be immediately examined. The person in charge is certain with the condition report made with the inspection, proper form given the number and initial of the cars, examine the names, the occupation, address for the persons making the inspection. The inspection must be made before the car's engine leaves the place of the accident occurred, but afterwards at the first terminal by the inspector, foreman, or other mechanical representative. When tools, machinery, or other types of equipment and appliances involved with the accident result in the personal injury, they should be, if at all possible, be marked for identification, places of custody, and some of the responsible officer or employee that had subject to the order of the claim agent, superintendent, regardless whether or not the inspection reveals any defect in therein. 608. When employees are injured in the train or the yard service, the number of the initials of all the engines of the cars are involved in cut and train should be reported by the conductor and foreman in charge. When employees are injured with the handling of the material and freighting, the foreman employee in charge must report order and destination of change of the shipment and the material being handled. 609. The company will not recognize any responsibility for the board, medicine, nursing, and surgical attention except for the emergency services required in Rule 601 and 602 unless authorized by a proper officer. Claim agent and other officers should arrange to have the remains passenger fatally injured who identified the unknown properly photographed in an event with the features are distorted beyond the recognition are therefore searched for it should be made with the scars and deformities, record kept with the exact location of the blemishes, purposes, identification, their personal effects together with a complete list. Therefore, they should be forwarded to the superintendent. 610. When automobiles or other vehicles, pedestrians are struck by colliding with the train engines or cars on railroad tracks or either crossing other or elsewhere, the conductor must immediately after accident occurs arrange for obtaining names, person, addresses, occupation, all the persons involved, including all the person crossing, arriving soon after the accident, license number of all the cars nearby, whether or not the occupants such of the cars admit knowingly anything about the accident. The information should be included in the reports made with the covering of an incurrency. When automatic signaling devices are provided with the watchman, flagman, on duty, special efforts should be made with determining who and among the witnesses can testify the apparatus for the properly functioning over the cost man, watchman properly performing his duty, name of the witness, and can testify regarding the horn, whistle, and bell signal must be obtained. 611. When persons or vehicles are struck and are injured by the damage by the trains or engines crossing the vicinity of the station agents at the point where the accidents occurred will immediately locate the rough sketch of the show the actual measurement of the motion of all the cars standing on the track nearby the crossing, sending the report to the superintendent describing the cars, giving the initial number of each of their location with the reference of the crossing where the accident occurred. Alright, and then it gives you the table of contents, and we're finished with the book. So this was Uniform Operating Rules effective May 1st, 1950. And that concludes that reading.